Hello everyone, welcome to Health Australia Party live broadcast, and today we've got a special interview at a special time because of our time differences around the world. Today I'm going to be speaking with Lena Pu, and I'm very happy to speak with her because she has so much knowledge and information about 5G and what's happening and where it's all going, that it's really information that's quite vital to all of us to understand. Now, Lena is an environmental science researcher. She has a Bachelor of Science in Landscape Architecture from the University of California. She's done quite a lot of work for the US Army Corps, and one of the things that I particularly liked about Lena's research is she's done some very important work on live blood research showing the effects of Wi-Fi on the blood of a school teacher in live time, real time. So maybe Lena can talk to us a bit more about that, because it's a very important study that I think every school should certainly be aware of. Lena's done a lot of lobbying with governments and local governments and state governments, and with some great success too. So with great pleasure, I welcome you, Lena, to Health Australia Party, and thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful introduction.
It's a long one because you've achieved so much and done such a lot.
I'm passionate. Passionate.
Yeah. I think once you sort of get into looking at these issues that we're all being bombarded with, it's hard to step back. Well, for me, it's impossible to step back because you get some information, and I've found some of it quite shocking, really. Hard to believe that that's what's actually happening, but have to pursue it, and I have to keep going. So let's talk about a few things. Let's start with how 5G is the same as the other Gs, the 3G, 4G, and how is it different? What makes it different? Okay,
so everyone is under the assumption that 5G is completely different than the 4G and 3G. Oh, it's this whole different thing. It's faster. It's it might be stronger. They're not very specific. When people say it's different, it's actually not. They're all within the microwave spectrum. So microwave spectrum is 300 megahertz to 30 gigahertz. You're talking about 5G really incorporating 4G, 3G, 2G, all the other Gs. So is it any different? No, it's not. It actually has absorbed all the other frequencies. Because why? 5G is the entire microwave spectrum. This is what people need to understand. It's not just a handful of frequencies like 2G, 3G, 4G, where the FCC, the regulatory agencies, all the regulatory agencies have been licensing, allowing industry to use a few handful of frequencies for each generation up until 4G. 5G is a whole different beast. It literally is a game changer. And what people understand, this is a term I came up with to help educate the public in understanding what a quantum leap difference 5G is with all the other Gs. It should be called 297G.
Ouch.
Yes.
That's extreme.
Yes, it is extreme. And I'm going to go into the power levels and show you how extreme those are. We're talking about monstrous levels at the FCC, ICNIRP, all the regulatory agencies allow. So when you're talking about the 4G versus the 5G, 2G, 3G, 4G, like I said, they let 5 to maybe 10 new frequencies. 5G is the entire microwave spectrum. How many frequencies is that? That's 3,000 frequencies. Compare that with 5 or 10. 3,000 frequencies. They are, if the telecom industry were to unleash 3,000, all microwave frequencies off of cell towers, cell antennas, it would be technically legal because of what the telecom, what the FCC and ICNIRP has allowed. So 297G, that's really what 5G should be called. So it's not the next step. So I'm showing you the similarities as well as the difference. So the difference is the quantum leap of the numbers. It's not any like necessarily different frequencies. It's just all encompassing. And so when you're talking about encompassing the entire microwave spectrum, you're also including the millimeter waves. So folks, 5G is not just millimeter waves. Okay, millimeter waves is a brand new spectrum of frequencies that have never been unleashed in public into the atmosphere, into our environment. It was being used between satellites for many, many years, but has never been placed so close to human environment, to communities, as well as being broadcast into the natural environment, into our forests, into our oceans and air. So this is a completely brand new experience, and this is something that I think we need to put a grasp on. And I'll get more. I'll get into it in more detail, what millimeter waves will do, because it's important to understand that this portion of the spectrum, in combination with what is already existing, is what is putting all of us over. It's what's killing all the bees instantly, all the birds instantly, even the trees, all life, all microbes, and why humans are also being impacted directly. And it's causing all kinds of harm. So that's the nefarious difference as well as the similarity of 5G.
So, well, it kind of makes no sense to me that they would implement something that is obviously so harmful to life.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
No.
So,
yeah, go on.
Because it doesn't make sense. Then you realize, well, what is the purpose? Why are they unleashing it? In terms of cellular connectivity, internet service, we had enough of it at 3G. Even 4G, we've been put over the top. And then 5G is just monstrous. It's insane. I mean, it literally is otherworldly. That's the only way I can term 297G/5G. It's an otherworldly direction, because we're terraforming the earth. We're opening up a whole entire microwave spectrum of energies that's never existed on Earth. Does it sustain life? No, absolutely not. Not a single frequency within the microwave spectrum sustains life here on Earth. All life here on Earth is sustained with just sunlight, period. We have Earth frequencies, we have natural Earth frequencies, and we have natural cosmic energies, but that is so low that it's barely detectable. And we're talking about 0.00 to the 8th to the 11th power, the negative range of that type of power that's coming from the cosmic radiation, which is barely anything. And then yet the FCC, ICNIRP, they're allowing 10 million microwatts over meter squared of exposures to humankind, whereas the Bioinitiative Report 2012 allows 7 to 10 microwatts over meter squared. So think about the varying difference in power, energy source. It's like 7 to 10 versus 10 million. So again, so not only are we talking about the numbers of frequencies, but we're also talking about the power.
Yes, yes.
And that's
just too. Just doesn't make any sense to me. And I mean, I don't know a great deal about the workings of 5G like you do, but just to put something out that's that powerful, well, it makes no sense for life. Really, it's got to be harmful. I can't imagine that it's not harmful to us, to humanity. So the different parts of 5G is designed to interact with new technology. Is that like the basic purpose of it, or is there something a little more darker or deeper?
Definitely deeper and darker. It's both. For the longest time, the excuse that the industry as well as the government who's helping to license and certify these devices is saying that 5G is made for the purpose of serving the Internet of Things. I prefer to call it Internet of Everything, because it's not inanimate objects that they're interested in just connecting. They're interested in connecting bodies, Internet of Bodies. So they're connecting inanimate objects with inanimate objects, as well as inanimate objects with human bodies. So
and how would they do that? How would that occur?
Well, that's why they want to just open up the entire spectrum of microwaves. So you've got long waves that can penetrate buildings, and you've got the short waves that can't penetrate buildings, but yet is super, super fast and can, if you place those frequencies close to your body, it can actually take biometric readings. Those are the varying applications of why they want these varying frequency types, is because each frequency has a specific technological purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. So the longer the waves, those are coming off of cell towers. And then you get to the small cells, which is right outside your house, your business, it's closer to the neighborhood, community. Then they input not only cell tower radiation frequencies, they introduce what millimeter waves are. So they have then a broader encompassing numbers of waves, from longer waves to really short waves. And what's going to happen is that those waves will then travel into your house, and then it'll ping your Siri or your Wi-Fi router, your home assistant, whatever wireless gadgets you put throughout your house is going to speak with it. And then those devices are going to be operating at a higher frequency, your Wi-Fi frequency, as well as the millimeter frequencies. And so this is why I highly encourage people, do not buy wireless gadgets for your home. Don't use your wireless assistant, because those are meant to talk and chit chat with the whole Internet of Everything. The small cells, the cell towers, the satellites, all of these networks all have a reason for doing what it's doing, is so that all your data, all your information is uploaded into a cloud, and there's going to be basically a computer brain that's going to be in control of all these electronics. It's collecting as well as inputting. It's a two-way transmitting. So if people understand that frequencies, you're not just using it for, data on your phone, communication between that, but these frequencies, there are lots of other information that can ride on it that you don't know anything about, but yet it's your body's receiving the messages. So certain frequencies, and they've done so many studies on this through MK Ultra, is that certain frequencies can solicit certain types of emotions, psychological effects, even words. It's microwave hearing, voice to skull, and these things are happening. I mean, with the millimeter waves, it's happening much more rapidly, and I can't tell you how many people suddenly feel suicidal, depression, anxiety, severe anxiety, the moment they switch on 5G. And I believe it's the combination of the millimeter waves with all the other mid-range, low-range frequencies. It's the entire spectrum of the varying waves that's hitting your body, striking your body, that's causing all these instant ill effects. So, yeah.
So one would assume that the powers that be, the big telcos and these big companies, must know this. They must have a purpose for doing this, other than just, quick downloads and a bit of quick speed, which from the information I have, we can get through having everything cabled anyway. We don't really need 5G per se, because we can, the speeds of 4G, if it's cabled or wired in, is good. So when people just think, well, it'll be fast and, you know, more access, that's sort of like the tip of the iceberg, really, isn't it? It's a very small part of, from what I'm hearing you say, it's a very small part of the purpose of how this 5G, with all the satellites and all the range of waves, what it's purposed for. It's not really for speed of your download your movies.
That's their excuse that they want us to buy into. And absolutely, the purpose is much grander. And this is where this whole direction of the vaccination program is heading, is actually giving excuse for 5G to be rolled out even faster. So what the government is giving excuse now is saying, well, now we need to track and trace with the, you know, the virus issues, and having the 5G network and putting tracers on people through their phone, or even through chipping or through ankle bracelets. And that has been happening, and I can guarantee you that it's actually happened to people here in the United States, where people have denied getting tracing application put on their phone. So what the authorities forced them were to wear an ankle bracelet. So this is this is a potential reality, and
but people aren't seeing this, are they? I mean, the
No.
mainstream media is certainly not talking about any of this.
We're only hearing it because, you know, I'm connected with a lot of the alternative information stream, and so from that information stream, you're finding out what's actually happening. And you know what they're doing is they're probably just testing to see how the people react, and all of this is really a psyop. And if they're gonna, you know, if they how we react to this is going to determine how hard they push. So this is actually very important why we're even having this conversation, Molly, is so that people are aware that there are certain actions that the government could try to enforce on us. Not only be aware, but be prepared. And I'll get into some solutions, some actions, and some ways to protect yourself on a legal manner, you know, legal basis, as well as physically against the radio frequency exposures.
Okay, great. So yes, I'm sure everyone wants to know what can we do. Right. Yeah. What about the satellites? I mean, I've heard a couple of numbers, but apparently Elon Musk is sending up thousands of satellites. Is this all for 5G, to beam down 5G?
Yes, it's not limited to 5G. They're talking about 6G and 7G, but once you get up to 6G and 7G, it's really about application. 6G is terahertz waves. It's completely different spectrum of frequencies. It's outside of the microwave. It's actually between the microwave spectrum and infrared light. So there's another 3,000 frequencies there that they're unleashing. Yes, it's insane. It is
insane. Oh my gosh.
And if you understand what terahertz waves can do to the human body, you would just be floored.
Well, I have no idea. Can you give me an idea? I mean, I haven't even heard of it, really.
It's super, super fast. It unzips DNA. There are studies that have shown that exposure to terahertz waves unzips DNA. Millimeter waves can do a lot of things at the molecular, very granular level, because of the nature of the waves are so short. Terahertz waves are even shorter. They're even shorter. So the shorter the wave, the more it will resonate with smaller the object.
Okay. So it's not sounding too healthy for the human being.
No, it's monstrous.
It's almost like we're out of here, basically. So, well, what are the latest developments with the satellites? Where is it all at? What's happening at the moment?
Okay, so Elon Musk says, every couple of weeks I'm going to launch, a couple of dozen, I think between 60 to 75 numbers of satellites into space. And right now we have a couple hundred. He's hoping he'll stop somewhere around, I don't know, 40,000. That's what he says. And he's not the only one. There are other companies, Telesat, OneWeb, Amazon, even Facebook, I believe, is launching their own.
Oh,
And
gosh.
and it's endless. It is literally endless. This is cyber war. This is what's really happening. And we as people, all mankind, we need to step up. We can't sit back and let these things happen. The time to voice and put your foot down is now.
But how do you get that information out to people? It's very difficult with the mainstream, keeping them fed tidbits of what they really should be telling people, really, isn't it?
I think the people who are awake or waking up, the percentage of that is enough, I think, to shift the direction. Yeah, I definitely don't believe you need to wake up the entire mass of people to make change, to make waves. There's a critical percentage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the 100 monkey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay. So 5G to 6G to all these satellites. It's quite scary, really. It's certainly a new world that we're looking at. I believe, anyway. Can we just backtrack a little bit? I just want to get some information from you about the school teacher and the blood tests that you ran and how you did that and what was the outcome of that. Because I know my grandchildren, they're all Wi-Fi'd at school, and I guess probably most schools are. It's certainly not wired, it's just Wi-Fi. And they're basically in it all day.
Yeah.
Must have an effect.
Unfortunately, it does. I've seen so many blood samples that there's only been 2 people I've seen with normal blood, and they're the people who don't use smartphones, a cell phone. They don't have Wi-Fi in their homes, and they don't use a computer that emits wireless. So they're the only 2 people that I've ever seen with decent blood. Everyone that I've tested that are just curious, and they're the ones who, they're not cognizant of not using their phone. They're just basically exposed to everything, and not a single person has normal blood.
So what does that mean?
Means that their blood is reload, sticky in a coin fashion, or the surface of the membrane is spiculed into echinocytes, which are spiky bottle cap type cells where the membranes are oxidized, and so that's why you get these spiky shapes. And you see a lot of broken cells. You see hat-shaped cells. You see moon-shaped cells. You see teardrop-shaped cells. All different types of shapes of cells, because also they're just being broken from the radio frequency waves hitting it. These waves penetrate your body. This is why I did the blood study. This is why I got interested in the first place, was because I knew prior to my interest in doing even any blood study, I was very interested in studying water, because I knew microwaves struck water, because water's dipolar with an imbalance of positive negative. So it's very sensitive to any type of magnetic, electromagnetic influence.
Okay.
And so because it oscillates, it makes it oscillate. And I thought, okay, well, that's how your food gets cooked in a microwave oven, is because it penetrates into the food and it oscillates the water molecules. And it causes heat. But we don't need to create heat in order for it to damage us. I mean, we're living tissue. We're not dead tissue. So just a small amount of microwaves is going to impact our tissue, because what it does is it oscillates our water molecules as well as all cells that contain water, and makes it align in such a way according to the waves that are hitting it. So what your body's trying to do is fighting against an external field that's forcing your cells to do something that it doesn't want to do. And it's forcing the membranes to do something, and it's forcing all the internal cells to do things, so this is why you get cell deaths, you get mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative damage, all kinds of things on a cellular, granular level. You can't see it. But over time, this is why, on a body, on, the outside symptoms we feel are headaches, numbness, tingling in our extremities, anxiety, we can't sleep, can't think straight, concentration problems, heart palpitations, digestive issues. Those are like obvious things we can feel, right? But what we can't see is what's happening on the cellular level. And so this is why I did the blood study. So when I did the blood study, I could actually see in real time what was doing to something that was perfect to watch, which is blood. Because what is blood? But water and iron. Iron is highly sensitive, obviously, to electromagnetic radiation, right? Iron and water. So the blood is a perfect example of the influence of the microwaves that's penetrating your body. So when I started doing the research on the teacher, I've already started looking at the blood for over a year now. And I knew that the results would be devastating. But when I actually saw the results, I was so shocked. It's like, mentally I was ready for it, but to still see it live was still so shocking to me, and because I've never seen anything like it before.
So how did it differ? So did you take a blood in the morning and then at night, or how did you do that to have a comparison?
I made sure I had a control day. I wanted to make sure that, I had proof, like, yes, her blood is good. Her blood it's not a fluke. So I took her blood 4 times. I had a control day. So I took it the same time as I did on the day of her school exposure, morning before she stepped onto campus. And then right after she stepped off campus, I took her blood again. So I took the control day the day before. I took it 8 a.m. and then 3:30 p.m. And both times the blood was fine. It's healthy. It was round, it was single, it was good. And then the second day, the day of the experiment, that morning, I took her blood, and of course it was good. It was perfect. It was single, plump, round cells, side by side. And then by 3:30 p.m., 7.5 hours later, her blood looked like it came from a cancer patient. The blood looked like it was, exposed to a snake bite, the poison from a snake bite. The coagulation effect was so severe that I had to look up, like, what could cause such severe agglutination? Were those things cancer patients and poison from the snake bite, those kinds of things?
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and she's in a classroom situation with young children.
Yep.
Who I would expect would possibly be even more vulnerable because of their immune development and perhaps the structure of their skull and bones and so on.
Absolutely. Their cells are dividing much more rapidly. And so as the DNA is splitting, it's you're getting possibly a lot of interference during the cell division, as well as the cells themselves. And then of course the DNA breaks, so there's just so many layers of problems that happens, and one problem will lead to other problems, and from molecular problems can lead to cellular problems, and cellular problems can lead to tissue problems, and then lead to problems that we can only see, behavioral issues, lack of concentration, violence, inability to concentrate, and ADHD, ADD, digestive issues. I can't tell you how many, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I just found out, you know, I have kids. My kids told me, Mom, you didn't know that this is the age of anxiety? This generation of kids is the age of anxiety. That's what they call themselves, the age of anxiety. I've never heard of this.
No,
Growing up,
that's tragic.
yeah, because the suicide rate in the kids is so phenomenal.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is. It's very high.
And I grew up in a time when I mean, it's not like we didn't suffer. You know, we had all our typical teenage angst. We all did. And but
Correct.
nobody thought about killing themselves. Yeah, I mean, not, you know, not like I I came from a really large school, and it was 1,000 students in high school, and not a single kid killed themselves. I mean, not a
Yes.
single one. And one OD'd on drugs. That was it. One. My 4 years of high school, within a class of 1,000. Now I hear the news like every couple of months. Oh, some kid just, you know, suicided.
It's tragic, isn't it? It's really tragic.
Yeah. And so you have to look at the environment. You absolutely have to look at the environment when it's this extreme.
Yeah, look at what's changing. I know from my work perspective in the natural health field, which I've been doing for 37 years, I've seen amazing changes in the rates of cancer and ADD and children's health. You know, we didn't, 30 years ago, you hardly ever saw little kids that were chronically ill, but now it's everywhere. And when I was nursing back in the 60s, I nursed in not a huge hospital, but in Canberra, and I only ever saw one child with cancer. Now we have wards for cancer for children. I mean, that's not that long ago.
Right.
Yeah. So
well,
you have to ask, what's the environment? What's changed?
Yeah. Well, that sounds like the schools. The schools actually, I know every grade has a specific class for special learning needs, a whole class devoted for special needs.
Yes, correct. Same here.
And that's just unheard of.
Yes.
Because of the percentage of the children with that type of need, because of their mental faculties, you know.
Yes,
so.
It's quite disturbing, actually. And the real disturbing thing is that we don't ask the questions. Why is this changing? Nobody asks. They just accept, oh, yep, this is how it is. They don't look at, you know, what chemicals are in our environment or food, or what we're putting into our body or medicating with, or now the 2G, 3G, 4G, now 5G. Yeah, it's I don't know. So what specifics can we do to protect ourselves? Is there something that, you know, our environment we live in, how do we protect ourselves, or can we?
Well, this is a message for parents. If your kids are on virtual learning, actually this is a good opportunity, because they're not being bombarded in a school. So them not being exposed to all the wireless in a school setting, I say take this opportunity to detox the kids by hardwiring all your computers in your home, and shut off the wireless features in your home router. Turn off all wireless features. Make your home a safe haven for your children. And then when they're using the computer, you know, monitor their computer. And I'm saying that if your school is requiring your children to work on the computer for too long, you have every right to complain, because there are plenty of medical organizations that recommend 2 hours, no more than 2 hours screen time. We can go back to books, you know, to pamphlets, right? Learning from a pamphlet, and have limited, you can input the answers into computers, send it to the teacher, but then have the children read from books and booklets, you know, what we used when we were children before the advent of computers.
Yes,
So
exactly.
this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for parents.
Yeah, yeah, it is, isn't it? It really is. Yeah. All right. So turn the Wi-Fi off and get your house wired, basically,
Yep.
isn't it? For your home environment.
Yep.
What about for our community and Mother Earth, planet Earth? Because she'll obviously be bombarded, and Earth has its own frequency. So it must be a huge impact on the actual planet to have all
Absolutely.
this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how do we protect it?
Well, I've written a notice of liability that is international in scope, and it basically dismantles the authority of the FCC and ICNIRP and all the regulatory agencies, their powers, their, it's basically bringing them into a condition of you're creating harm, you're creating a tort against me, and you have to prove to me that what you're doing is safe. Then I'll agree. I'll agree. It's a conditional acceptance contract. I'll agree to what you want to do, what you're claiming to do. So it's pretty much like a contract where you're reversing the role, because how many contracts have you received in the mail saying that if you don't answer this, then it's, silence is acquiescence.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
You've agreed to the terms of the contract.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're reversing that. We're reversing the role,
Okay.
saying, I see your contract, and I'm giving you a chance to. I'm basically placing a claim that your contract is possibly causing, well, your contract is causing me harm, but you have to prove to me that it's not.
Well, yeah, that would be very difficult for them to do. What about the fact that what I have noticed here, while we've been isolating and in our little lockdowns, I have noticed a lot more towers going up everywhere. It's just like mushrooms coming up while we've been locked down. So once they're up, how do we then, is there a contract we can say, I don't like what you're emitting? Because if they're emitting levels that are known to be harmful, how do we stop that? Or can we?
Well, see, that's the problem. They don't listen to petitions. It's begging, anything that's kind of has a begging tone or a request. You're basically actually giving the authority still back to them. If you're making these requests, you're basically saying, well, I see you as an authority figure. Can you please reduce the radio frequency guidelines to a safer level? Well, we know that they set it so high for a reason, and it's not to protect our health. They've designed all these laws, their laws, to not be protective. So this is why I even got into this notice of liability process, was because I felt this is our last straw. This is our last ability to take back our personal sovereignty, our personal powers, and make claim. This is, you have to, in my affidavit, you have to prove to me that, all these things, you have to prove that it's untrue. You place a burden of proof on them instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
I know this process is very new to a lot of people, but I've already coached enough people. We're actually serving worldwide the document that I've created. So yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting to see the after effects.
Is there any action down here?
I've met with a few people. They've signed up. So yes, there are.
Okay.
There are.
Excellent. Excellent.
And if you have referrals, I that would always help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
And I think, the saying is we are all in this together, and a species, a human species, the humanity that we have, if we, what I see is if we don't do something together now, then humanity won't be ever what we've known it to be. I think we're in for enormous change from what I've read and seen. And I think, well, I don't know, it's overwhelming. It's quite overwhelming to have some information about what 5G really can do and how it can harm us, and yet to see it just, our governments and councils just allowing it to just flow in. I don't understand that. Why do they not listen to all these scientists that are saying it's dangerous? What is it? What's stopping them, Lena?
They designed this because they know the science. It's like asking a robber breaking into your house, you know, don't steal the family heirlooms and please lock the door after you leave. That's not the nature of who they are. Once we understand that, then then your mode of operandi changes. You're no longer asking them, please look at the science. You know, you're no longer asking them. You actually start realizing what a falsehood this whole system is. The whole creation of the regulatory agencies, what a falsehood they all are. There has been so much criminal activities behind the scenes, and it's been happening for, you know, over so many things. Misappropriated funds, you know, something very basic. It's all the way to blasting us with all types of microwaves, and then unleashing waveforms that we've never even thought could exist on Earth. You know, nobody would have expected that they would unleash terahertz waves on us, let alone millimeter waves. Nobody would have expected it. Now, why? Is because the FCC's website doesn't talk about anything past 6 gigahertz. So nobody assumed that they would unleash the entire microwave spectrum. Nobody would have expected this. And so they really took us by surprise when they did this. And so everybody, once they heard, oh, you know, when Tom Wheeler gave the announcement, like, we're going to unleash the entire microwave spectrum on you guys, everyone was scrambling. Well, what is 5G? What are millimeter waves? And I did my heavy research. I did enough research on the millimeter waves to know, really, you know, eventually what was going to happen, the whole purpose of it. And so that's why I even got into the notice of liability, is because I realized we need solutions. It's not enough to have knowledge. It's not enough to share my information to people, because what are they going to do with it?
Yes,
because
exactly.
Because exactly, nobody listens to the science. The government's not going to listen to it, and obviously the UCC is not listening to it, because they come from a military background. You know, it's all based on Nazi research, on military research. It comes from a very dark place. The research on microwave radiation, its effect, and their opportunities of using it as a weapon, comes from a very dark place.
Okay, so if it's so harmful and it will harm a lot of us, what's the end game? How does that serve a purpose, to have something that is so harmful to humanity freely out there, used purposefully, I would expect? But what's the end game? I mean, you know, if I don't know, I'm just
it's getting rid of the creative life force of mankind.
But
it is
why, Lena? Why?
Well, okay. It's a spiritual battle, and however people look at it, you know, archonic forces or aliens or demonic forces, there is a darkness and there's a lightness. It's a fight between literal life and death on a spiritual level, and I'm not talking about our physical bodies, but there's a clash, a war going on to control the earth, and there's a there's a component of jealousy in there. It's the the darkness, you know, the archonic demonic forces find they hate what we have, what humanity has, and that is love, our creative forces, our the powers of intention, our ability to materialize things just with our thoughts. We need to actually understand the root of our ability as people, as men and women, and that is something we've lost. And in fact, that is a whole reason why we've been so suppressed through everything you can even think of. Why they've put us in this bubble, this matrix, where they fluoridated our pineal gland. You know, they've glyphosated our entire gut system and the earth, so that the earth's gut system, the soil, which is really the gut of the earth, they destroyed that so that our plants are no longer chit-chatting with each other, communicating with each other. Nothing is communicating with each other anymore. Our insect population has been decimated, and as a result, also our bird population, and the bee population. All of these are all pollinators. These are our life-giving, you know, resources. That's part of the whole natural ecosystem, and this whole matrix that we've been put into a bubble. We've been put into this bubble from day one. They're vaccinating mothers now that are pregnant. They are vaccinating pregnant mothers. And so what they're doing is that they're actually downgrading our human potential from the moment the cells start to fuse and grow in the mother's womb. And they do so many unkind things, like cutting the umbilical cord too soon so that the baby is not flooded with full numbers of blood, the hemoglobin, the iron. And there's so many assaults on the baby. The baby is also vaccinated the moment it's born.
Yes.
Even, you know, and then, and the child is vaccinated like how many times before they're 6 years of age. And then the education system is meant to dumb us down. You know, there's so many people, there's so many whistleblowers that have talked about that. It's really a military operation. The school is a military operation. And then the education system itself is now degenderizing our children and teaching them that they have no gender. I mean,
you know,
so none of these things are singular, you know, none of these things are singular issues. There's a big plan, and the big plan, big picture, is to dehumanize men and women.
Okay.
Because they hate
That's
us.
Scary.
Yeah, they just, so embrace. So, you know, the encouraging thing that I tell people is, you know, embrace your humanity, embrace your emotional richness. You know, it's okay to feel hate or anger and love and pain and sadness and all the wonderful myriad emotional, you know, spectrum. Right? Let's embrace that spectrum, not the microwave spectrum. Let's embrace all the humanity spectrum of all the feelings of love, you know, and speak those words of love and gratitude, and all the wonderful words that actually will strengthen all the earth life-giving things. Your water, you know, you speak love and gratitude into your water, and it structures it. I mean, that's how powerful our intentions are.
Okay.
Yeah,
The power of the word and the mind, and
absolutely.
okay.
So that is another solution. It's so simple, but yet it is actually so powerful that we need to just peel our faces away from the phone and start looking at each other, take those freaking masks off and speak, speak and communicate with people. Healing words, words that show love and gratitude. And what you're actually essentially doing is you're recreating what humanity has always been given to us, is this breath of life. We have this ability to increase and enhance life, and it's all of nature, and all of nature has that ability. And it's the natural frequencies we're only beginning to understand the depths of. For instance, the way trees communicate with each other. They actually communicate with each other through light, but where's that light? It's actually in the soil. It's actually in the root system. So there's actually, just like there's light in our gut system, they detect light in our gut system. And actually our gut is a third brain. Our heart is a second brain. We actually have three brains. We have the brain, and then we have the heart, and then the gut. And if you understand how important light is also translated and transmitted underground between plant life, between trees and all plant life. And that is how they communicate with each other. This is how they create a working forest. And we're talking about virgin forests that have been untouched and unaltered.
Yes, yes.
There's a perfect synergy between all the plant life. It's because they're all communicating with each other. And also the animal life communicates with the plant life. For instance, when birds sing, it's the frequencies of the songbirds actually stimulates flower growth, stimulates the trees to bud. And then once the trees bud and the flowers have grown and are waiting to be pollinated, well, the bees approach the flowers. Well, how do the bees know which flowers to visit if there's a whole bunch of bees pollinating it? It sees a change in the electromagnetic field around the flowers. So that's another form of communication. It's frequencies. These are all frequencies.
Yes.
And then once the bees pollinate the flowers then grow seed, fruit, and then the birds eat it. So you see this whole cycle of very simple cycle of life between the plant, the bees, and the flowers. I'm sorry, yes, the plants, the bees, and the birds. That is a wonderful example of the synergy between how life communicates with each other.
Harmoniously, isn't it?
Yes. So when we talk about ecosystem goes way, way, way deep. It's all about frequencies, bottom line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how can we get your letters? How can we become a part of, apart from using our words of gratitude and love and kindness and a clear intention, because humans are powerful. Our words are power. But how do we go to your website and we can get copies of this letter so that we can send to our power brokers here who are intent on, well, I don't know. I'm not sure what their intention is, but it doesn't feel good at the moment.
Yeah, these people that are supposed to be our leaders, that are supposed to be responsible for our health and protection, aren't doing what they've sworn an oath of duty to do. That is the perfect opportunity to hold them responsible, hold them accountable. And so those are the people you would want to serve this notice of liability.
Okay, yes, yes.
So they are the perfect people to serve. So you can reach this document at my website. It's behind a Patreon. So you can reach the Patreon on my website. My website's called lenasfabulousfrequencies.com. LENAS frequencies.com. Oh, sorry, fabulousfrequencies.com.
Lena's
Lena's
Fabulous Frequencies.
fabulousfrequencies.com. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we can go there and get the information. All right. That's great. And well, I guess the other thing is don't buy these products, because if you don't have all these wonderful things talking to you in your house, or your fridge that tells you you're getting low on milk or something, then you don't have a need for 5G, I guess.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Mm.
It's very simple by keeping your life simple, by not relying on the gadgets. And I do also recommend people, if you have a smartphone, to get used to not carrying it with you. You don't want to be tracked and traced and be part of the data system, the surveillance, the tracing, you know, the viral tracing, contact tracing. If you want to stay away from the data collection, this is the time to wean yourself from wearing your phone on your body when you're out in public. Okay. You want to be invisible as much as possible to the internet of everything. That is my number one advice to people who are awake, who want to keep their autonomy, their spiritual autonomy, their own mind, their own autonomy in, just in all things. This is a good start. Because the whole 5G, as I explained to you, Molly, earlier, is that this is meant to bring on a whole new medical paradigm where you're tracked and traced based on your medical records. This is the whole reason for this, this whole scamdemic is to ultimately use medical records as a means to bring on the 5G as a way to physically trace and track you, whether it's through your phone and eventually through a chip, through tattoos, through quantum dot tattoos, through the ID 2020 chip. All these things you want to stay far, far away from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so that will be perhaps tricky if things get mandated, or yeah, it'll be interesting times going forward, won't it?
Yes. Yeah. But remember,
and I guess, go on.
It's just when things are mandated, it's not law. No one has a right to harm you. No one has a right to trespass your body in any way, whether it is through a needle or through electromagnetic radiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of work to be done, I think. Now, not waiting to see what happens, isn't it? Okay. Lena, thank you so much for joining us. You've really opened my eyes a lot to perhaps what's coming in the future. And I can't say that I'm liking what I'm hearing.
I know.
But if you don't know, then you don't have choice. So you have to be informed so that you can make your choices. And we all have the right to choice, and the right to make a choice that affects us personally. So thank you very, very much for joining me and sharing your knowledge and information. And I'm very grateful that you have. And certainly going forward, perhaps in another few months, we could have another conversation and just see where things are. If we can get more people to actively try to make change, let's see where we can go as a collective.
Yes, that would be exciting. This is a time when we have to make a choice, like you say. And if you're not informed, you have no choice. And that is exactly right, Molly. So the last thing really any of this information is meant to do is to bring fear. That is the last thing you should want to put yourself in, find empowerment in this knowledge, please, because really this is about reclaiming your humanity.
Yes.
Just think of it that
Yes.
way. This is a
Yeah.
time when we're forced to reclaim our humanity.
Mm. And I think I get the sense that there's a big feeling of that because, well, the last decade, there's been so much corruption in politics, and it's becoming visible. You know, I think it used to be there, but it was hidden. Now it's becoming so visible, and people are fed up. They're fed up with the corruption, the lies, the misinformation, and people are just becoming so aware of all this now that they're, I think, much more ready to say, hang on, I've had enough and I'm going to do something about it. I think there's a big movement worldwide.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you.
It's a tsunami coming, I think.
Yay.
All right, Lena, thank you so much. I'm very grateful for your time and sharing
Molly.
what you've shared. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a different time for us. It's lunchtime here in Australia. It's nighttime where Lena is in California. But thanks for joining us. And I hope you've gotten as much information as I have, because I've certainly learned a huge amount from Lena today. And it just gives me a sense of importance of what we're doing and speaking out and taking action. Because if we sit back and do nothing, we lose all our choice and we are losing our freedoms. We're certainly losing our freedom of speech. You can just see by the way Facebook and YouTube are censoring everything. Something comes up, down within a few minutes because people are speaking out. That's not the world that I knew, and that's certainly not the world that I want going forward. So let's get together, speak up, stand up, do something. Don't just sit back and whinge and wait. That's not where we can go. We can do so much more together. Okay, on that note, thank you and goodbye, everyone.